What is up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kai. I do all types of lifestyle videos, and I bought the Sony ZV-E10 like a few months ago, and I'm finally doing a review because I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So before we start, a few things. I am going to compare this a lot to the Canon G7X because that is the camera that I was using. So I'm just going to be comparing, I guess, the best way I could, talk about it in my review is comparing the two, because I'm not the most techie person, okay? I am not that in-depth with the tech, so I feel like that is the best way I can describe it. Not to mention, I will be honest, I was a Canon girl for years. I think I had my first camera when I was a teenager, had a Canon Rebel. So I've always been a Canon person, so switching to Sony was like a big deal for me. And I will just say, I really love it so far. Both cameras are great. I did have to move on from the Canon G7X just because I had to like repair it. It was not gonna be a pretty cost. And I was like, I'd rather buy a new camera. So that is why I came to the Sony ZV-E10. Like I said, I do love this camera. Like, I have no complaints. There's just some things here and there. So a lot of my review is going to be comparing the two just because a lot of my videos are vlogging. I vlog a lot. So that is what I use the camera mainly for. The best way I think I can go through it is comparing the two. It's not gonna be like a one-for-one comparison, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, this one's better than the other, because like I said, I love the Sony ZV-E10. I'm very happy with it. It's more so just so I can like go down the list of things that I needed for, if that makes sense. I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. It's not gonna be the most in-depth in the tech, but we'll get there. So let's get into it. Actually, first things first, I am filming with the ZV-E10 right now. This is the quality. Honestly, I love the quality. It's obviously 4K, which is amazing. This is exactly what it looks like. I will not be color correcting this video just because I want it to be the actual like quality and the actual view right now. So right now I am in the front of the window. I will say I don't have the most kind of natural lighting. I do have my actual ceiling fan light on as well, so that's kind of what it looks like right now. I do want to explain about the natural lighting because I know that natural lighting makes a huge difference, but if you see any of my normal videos, you guys know that I have the worst window lighting ever. I also have a giant tree, so technically right now it's like the best time I could film, because otherwise once the sun shifts, you're just gonna see like tree shadows, which is not anything to do with the camera. It's just everything to do with my window and the placement of my room in my house. But this is what it looks like. It is currently 11:15 a.m. as I'm filming this. This is what the light looks like. Again, I'm not gonna color correct, I'm not gonna adjust anything. This is the pure quality of what it looks like. Honestly, I love the 4K in this. I think it's so beautiful. I even went back to like, I think my first vlog with filming this with this camera, and I was like, oh my gosh, it looks so pretty. I absolutely love it. I have no complaints about that. It is beautiful. One of the main things that I also love about this camera is that the lens is removable. You can buy different multiple lenses. You can change it to whatever you want, whatever you need you want. It is amazing. Again, going back to comparing it to the G7X, I have the older G7X. You cannot change the lens with that, which is actually a huge issue of why I needed to get a new camera, because the lens was messed up and getting that fixed was just the same price as getting a new camera. I love that with the Sony, you can change the lenses, you can change it for whatever you need. I do say I have currently the basic camera that comes with it when you buy it. I do want to buy new lenses in the future because I'll get into it with stabilization in a bit, but I do want more lenses for what I need it for, because I think there's a lot of things that I do want to like fix up. But I absolutely love that you can do this, because again, lenses also make a lot of difference in like how you want shots to look. If you're a little bit more like artistic, the lens makes such a difference. It also makes a difference with lighting, makes a difference with, you know, how you want things to look. So I love that you can change that. Like, that's such a huge perk, especially because it's like a smaller body camera. Obviously like DSLRs are like a lot bigger. Obviously you could change the lenses, all those, but the fact that this is still like a very small portable camera and you could change the lenses is such a game changer. I want to talk first about how its focus works. Actually, let me backtrack a bit. I will say this camera had a bit of a learning curve, and that was more on me. Like I said, I'm not the most techiest person, so I had to watch a lot of videos just to kind of figure out the settings, figure out all the stuff. So again, if you're more techie than I am, I'm pretty sure you won't have as big of a hard time with it, but I had a hard time with it because again, I also wasn't putting the effort to like fix things. Like the focus, I will say there are some clips in my car where like I'll be talking, again when I'm vlogging, I'll prop my camera up and the focus is very, how do you explain, it's very sensitive on this. Like right now I'm obviously in focus, but for example, if I'm on my camera, I usually have it a bit of an angle, so like if I shift, it'll like focus on something else really quick. It's very like sensitive focus, which in general is actually a pretty good thing, but when I'm filming like just sitting down like talking, I sometimes miss that because I just automatically think that it's focused on me. So I will say it's very sensitive. However, again, this is a learning curve thing. There are ways to kind of set up the, oh my gosh, I totally forget the name. I'll include in the description box the videos that helped me, because there was one guy who did like setting up like the facial recognition profile type of situation, so that way the focus can always get you. I did not do that. So again, that was also bad on me, I will completely admit. But the focus itself is very sensitive, which again is not like the worst thing ever. It's just that's something you have to be paying attention to. So one of the biggest things about this camera that I think is like, I guess my biggest con, everything has been great. The quality has been great. The sound has been great. I do use just currently the camera microphone, and honestly the sound has been great. Obviously, if you get an external, it's gonna sound way better, but I'm not in the budget for one right now, okay? But like the actual camera microphone sounds great. It actually records very loud, which sounds like a bad thing, but it's not. It's actually perfect because again, it's better to go higher and like lower the volume in like when you're editing instead of having it very low, you know, and having to go higher and it's sounding terrible. So I love that you can adjust the volume that this records in. Again, it's amazing. I love that. Only con I have about this camera is that it has no internal body stabilization. And shout out to Jenna Hong. I love her YouTube videos. If you guys want to check her out, she talks a lot about the Sony cameras. She does do a lot of vlogs, like she's a lifestyle blogger, but she talks a lot about cameras. But she actually brought this up too, that this camera does not have internal stabilization, and I think she said that Sony's newer camera doesn't either, and I don't understand why. Sony, please add this to your cameras, because I think this is gonna be like my biggest con with this camera. If you guys go look at two of my videos, first one being the Not Summer Nights video, like the first one, I think that's actually the one that you'll see the most actually. So go see that one. It's a full vlog out and about. I'm vlogging with this camera. So this camera does have steady shot. So steady shot has 3 modes: off, standard, and active. So this is where I'm getting at. So off, I do not recommend absolutely whatsoever unless you're just propping your camera up like this and don't need to move it at all. I usually keep it in standard, like for shots like this, either way, or if I know that I'm not doing major movements. However, actually that's not entirely true, because again, if you go see that Knots video, I have it in standard, and y'all, it looks like I'm freaking running in the first Hunger Games movie. Like, it looks like the most crazy like movements, even though if I'm holding it still as much as I can. Again, I film the same way that I have with my Canon. I film the same way that sometimes I use my iPhone to film. I will literally even like use my legs to like prop up my like phone, whatever I'm filming, so it can be a steadier shot. But either way, I had it on standard and it looks like the worst shaking cam ever. It just does not look good, which is crazy because again, if you go look at that vlog, there was still a lot of shots that I didn't use because it looked even more shakier than the ones that I did use. That's not my favorite thing in the world. The only way to kind of combat this is to use action shot. However, with action shot, it will crop the what you're seeing right now a lot smaller. So as you can see, I just switched this into action shot. This crops in the view so much. It does kind of depend a lot on what you want to see, but obviously I do not like this being so up close when I'm speaking. I don't like that, especially if I'm out and about. I have been using this a lot more when I'm vlogging out and about, just because I was like, you know what, screw it. Especially if I'm filming something from afar, it's better if it's cropped in, you know? It'll at least be a little bit of a smoother shot. But when I'm talking like this, like if I were to switch it into like me talking, it's gonna be so zoomed in. So is this the worst thing in the world? No. This does help combat the whole not having the in-body stabilization. It does make things a little bit more smoother. It's just that you have to be cropped in. And literally the only solution to using action shot and having a wider view is literally just to get a wide angle lens, which that's the only solution anyone gives. Sure, action shot is probably your best choice in the steady shot options, but if you want the wider view, you need to buy a wide angle lens, which again sucks right now because buying a new lens is not in my budget at the moment, so it's not my favorite thing, especially if you're using this for vlogging out and about. This is your only option if you don't buy a lens, so keep that in mind. So now we're back in standard. Again, is it the end of the world? No, but I think it's just like a huge misstep on Sony's behalf. Having in-body stabilization is just such a normal thing that a camera should have, just because again, a lot of the shots I was just holding it very steady and it was still very shaky. Like I said, I've been a Canon person. I do still have Canon DSLRs. I still have my G7X just for like backup. Again, I use my phone sometimes and I feel like none of them have had this big of an issue. Keep that in mind. That is honestly my biggest con with this camera. Everything else is perfect, but I feel like if they would have done in-body stabilization, it would have been like the dream camera. I'm so sad, but overall it's still a very great camera. I really love it, so I have no complaints over that. So some comparisons to the G7X, I will say this has better battery life. This actually has like a cable to connect to your camera to charge it, which I think is so helpful because you can actually still use it while it's charging. The G7X, you have to take out the battery, you know, put on the little like adapter and then charge it. So again, if you want to continue filming, this Sony definitely wins in that aspect. And yeah, the battery does in general last a lot longer. The G7X, probably also because I've used it for years, my battery life was just trash. It would die like halfway through the day, which was not fun. Obviously the Sony will require like a memory card with more memory, just again because it films 4K, it's a lot more like memory taking in, which if you're constantly making content, I'm pretty sure you guys already have pretty huge memory cards, but just in case, you will need like a for sure big ones for the Sony ZV-E10. And by big ones, I mean the ones with more gigs, not necessarily size-wise, because I know that there are like DSLRs that have like the different memory cards. That is not what I mean. I mean size-wise in terms of like gigabytes. With the Sony ZV-E10, you can also use this to live stream. You could connect it to your computer, which I think is again so important. If you're like into that, it's like nicer to use this camera, gives you better quality. I know I've done live streams before and I've just used my laptop camera, which again looks like trash, so it's really nice that I can use this for future when I want to use it. Another thing comparing it to the G7X, this one, if I'm like for example talking right now, it does allow you to record for a lot longer. For the Canon G7X, it will only be like 16 minutes and then it'll stop recording and then I have to like start it over again, which sucks. This one I can do, I'm pretty sure I've done like a good 20 plus minutes and it hadn't stopped, so that's honestly so good. It's nice to just have it continuous. I'm terrible at like placing it again, so whenever I click pause or like start again, it like slightly moves, so I feel like my shot is never in the same place whenever I start and stop. So again, that's more on me, but something to keep in mind if you want to continuously keep talking, the G7X will like stop a lot earlier, which is again not fun because then you're like, oh, if you're like in the middle of thought, you have to restart or like all of that stuff. So it's just a little minor annoyances. With the ZV-E10, you can also add your own microphone, like have like the little ones, have just like the external ones. Again, that's like a huge game changer if you want better sound quality. I think that's great. This camera is definitely a lot bigger than the Canon G7X. For me, I haven't seen like a huge difference in like terms of me carrying it. I usually just carry it like a handbag basically. I haven't seen like a huge difference in terms of like weight or anything. It does obviously weight differently because it's bigger, but it's not so bad. Like I haven't been like, oh my gosh, my shoulder hurts. It's been easy to just, you know, whip it out, start filming. It's been good with that. The Sony ZV-E10, the pop-up screen does pop up to the side, whereas the G7X, it pops up to the top. Again, that's something to keep in mind if that's something that you care a lot about. Honestly, at first I did, and that's mostly because I would actually look off to the screen a lot. So like right now you can see that I'm looking at the screen right now. I would do that a lot when I first got this camera because again, I wasn't used to it. With the G7X, since it was on top, even if I was looking at it, you wouldn't really tell so much because I was like, at least it was like in the same area. With this, it was a bit of a learning curve to make sure I'm looking at the lens instead. Again, it's not like a major thing, it's just something that you have to get like used to. In terms of editing, obviously I use Final Cut Pro to edit. You will have to change your settings if you're gonna film in 4K, because you could change the settings of what you're like recording with on this camera. Obviously I choose to record in 4K because that's, you know, a big perk of this camera and like what I want my videos to be in. So when you do edit, you have to change, like for example Final Cut, the resolution, the format of your video to be 4K. It will take a lot more space from your laptop or whatever you're editing with, so keep that in mind. Literally once I realized that I was going to buy this camera, I bought an external hard drive. I try to clean out my laptop as much as I can just so I had enough room whenever I edit to like plop everything in, make sure everything was running smoothly, because it will take a lot of space. Obviously the whole like how editing works could be a whole video in itself because that's also a whole different topic, but I always make sure to export my videos the MP4s just because it will take hours if you don't to upload a video regardless of size, because obviously 4K will take a lot of memory space. It's always going to be a pretty big file, so keep that in mind. I think you kind of have to like prep when you're gonna get all these things. Like, I feel like I had to prep a little bit before getting this camera just so I was like ready. So once I was starting to edit, like I had everything I need. Once I finish editing a video and it's uploaded, I export all that stuff into my external hard drive. So again, my laptop is just clean and there's not a lot of like files on there because again, these are pretty big files. So keep that in mind as well. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions down below about this camera, let me know. Overall, I love this camera. I don't regret getting it at all. I think it's great. Again, if it had in-body stabilization, I think it would be like a 10 out of 10. Right now, it's probably like an 8.5 out of 10. But like if they had that, I would have been like, this is perfect. Get this camera only. But overall, I have been enjoying this camera. Again, it's been a bit of a learning curve. There's still a lot that I need to learn about this camera, and I need to for sure sit down one day and just like go through every setting and everything that it has to offer. Actually, I didn't mention this. This also kind of has like a skin filter. I don't have it on right now. It basically kind of gives a little bit like of a nice little skin sheen blur-ish. I actually used it, I think. I'll link the first vlog. I think it was my spring cleaning video. I do have the skin filter on that video if you guys want to check that out. I'll link that up as well so you guys can see what it looks like. But right now I don't have it on because I personally like how it looks not having it on. It's also, I feel like, a lot easier to edit in post in case I do need to change some things like color correction wise. However, like I said, I'm not color correcting this video because I wanted you guys to see like the actual quality without anything. This is exactly what it looks like. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. Like I also said, I'll link down the videos that were helpful to me down below for in terms of settings. That'll be in the description box. But if you guys have any other questions, let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Bye!